So this is going to be a half science, half instructional video on making sourdough bread, sourdough starter. I already have sourdough starter that I cultured back in 2011, July of 2011. It's been in the fridge for a while. I haven't fed this probably in like a month, which is why you can see it's got this gray liquid on top. That's the yeasts have been digesting all the flour and stuff that's in there, and that's what's left over. It's basically alcohol. Could probably drink it and get drunk. Probably I should. It would be horrible. But I thought I could at least show waking up the yeast, feeding it, watching it, come back alive, and then making sourdough bread out of it. So here we go. So you can see, like, underneath all of this, at the moment it almost, it looks like ice cream. The world's worst ice cream in the world. That's just because all the yeasts, all the yeast are asleep. Because as I said, they've been in the fridge for a while. So we'll give this a quick little stir. And then just let it sit and see if maybe it reactivates and bubbles at all just by warming up and when they wake up. After that, we'll feed it some actual flour and water, and it will definitely come alive then. Alright, so now that it is all nice and woken up, it's all nice and warm and happy, I'm actually going to, since this has been asleep for a while now, and haven't been baking with it, I'm going to basically dump about half of this into the garbage and then add equal parts flour and water, maybe like 100 grams of each or 150 grams of each, 200 grams of each, however much I think I might want to make, or that I'm going to need. And I'm also going to take the opportunity to clean the container, so I'll dump what I want to keep into a what did I say, 150? I could use the bigger spoon for this, but whatever. Adds up pretty quick. Now we'll do the same thing. We'll add some water. This is like nice, maybe 90 something degree water, straight out of the tap. If you have really highly chlorinated water, then maybe you might want to let it sit out, I guess, for 24 hours, but I've never had any issues. So I'm just going to add this until I get to 200 grams. Like that, 200 exactly. Perfect. So now, give this a stir. It's basically, this is just food now for the yeast that are in the other container already. And we will add it to our other container here. And then we will mix that together, so that all the yeast have some nice food to eat. In their nice new clean house. Get my hand out of the way, I guess. Make it nice. So now that our starter is awake and all the little yeasties are happy and alive and ready to eat more, we're going to take some of this and mix it with a lot more flour in a separate bowl to make the levain. Alright, so I'm going to make a half batch here because I only want one loaf, not 2 loaves. 200 grams of white flour. 200. And you don't have to use 2 different kinds of flour, but this recipe does. It would work fine if you wanted to use all one kind of flour. But so I need another 50 grams, in this case, of wheat flour. Get this up to 250. $246, 48, 49, 250. 50 grams of my starter, which we can get another shot of this in here if this thing will focus. I don't know if it's working or not, can't really tell. But anyway, you can see it's all nice and bubbly. It's all looking cool. What did I say? 50 grams? Let's reset this back to 0, just for some reason. 37, 41. 50. So that's that. Now this starter can go back into the fridge, go back to sleep, because I won't need to bake any bread for like a week. So 200 grams of the same kind of thing, just nice warm water, like 90 degrees. You know, if you feel it, it just feels nice. That's kind of like one of the ways, you know, if you run it in the sink and if it just feels like kind of nice and warm, shouldn't feel hot. You know, it can feel barely hot. Let me actually measure this, see where I got, just by feel. So it's 88, yeah, 88 degrees, so pretty close to 90, which is what I was shooting for. And yeah, so we need not to have a spoon in there, first of all, to get the measurement right. 200 grams of water. $160, $180, oops, $211. Take a little bit out. I was kind of not watching what I was doing. I was worried about the camera. You know, it's like all those books and stuff, they say like, oh, baking is a science, you have to get all your measurements exactly right, otherwise it's going to come out horrible. It's like, you know, like, remember back in the pioneer days when they were in covered wagons and they were going across mountains and they were also using sourdough starters to make bread? Like, pretty sure they didn't have electronic scales with them. But anyway, so let's mix it up a little bit, make sure you get all the nice good incorporation so that all the yeasties are spread throughout this mix, and they're super amazed now. They're like, man, we have so much food right now to eat. This is awesome. So now this is going to sit again in a nice little warm spot. Yeah, about 6 or 7 hours, I guess, from now will be the next step. So this is just gonna do its thing. Setting up this saran wrap so I could photograph this, but also not let it dry out. And so I wanted a nice flat cover, and I think I did a pretty good job because it sounds like a timpani. Alright, so now our levain has done its rising thing. You just saw a time lapse of that. Now it's time to mix that into a final dough and then let that rise, do some stretch and folds, we'll take some pictures of that too. 30 grams of whole wheat flour. So 370 grams of white flour. There. 310 grams of water. 1, 2, 307, 309, 311. That's good enough. And then we're going to mix this up. Just this flour and water for the moment. Let it do something called autolyse. Basically letting the water soak into the flour particles. I don't know what you call it. Just give this a couple mixing turns here. Alright, so then we'll cover that. We're going to let it sit for, see how long this is. It's like 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah, 20 to 30 minutes. Hey, it's like I'm learning this recipe. So now this has done its autolyse. It's all, water's all soaked up as much as it's going to soak up. And now we need some salt. I forgot how much. 21 grams, so half of that, 10.5. So I need 10.5 grams of salt. It's going to look like a lot, but it's really not a lot because there's an awful lot of flour in this. So that was actually 11 grams, but I think it'll be fine. So we're just going to sprinkle this onto our autolyzed flour. Alright, so now we've got our levain here, which is all completely filled with air. If we knock it back, we can see that it's like not actually as much in there as it looks like. And so we need half of 360 grams, since this is a half batch, so we need 180 grams. Put this back on the scale. 180 grams of this. You know what, I'm gonna just sort of half mix this salt in, so I don't kill any yeasties that I don't have to. Alright. 180 grams of levain, here we come. Okay, that was more than I expected. 206. Honestly, I feel like some of my measurements might be off here. I think maybe trying to film this and cook at the same time, because I feel like I have way too much of this levain left over. And there's like not enough in here. I'm just going to put some more in there. See? So what I was saying earlier? Like, don't sweat it. You know what? Since this has now become an experiment, I'm going to put it all in there. It's all that I can get out quickly. Because I don't want to waste any flour right now if I don't have to. Alright, so now we got all this in here. Got some water here to wet down my hands to make this part easier since you mix it with your hands. Nice wet hands, make it easy to stay clean. Maybe I'm not sure where to put this stuff. Put this over here. So basically, I can start mixing this together. And the method that is shown in the book is called the pincer method. This is already getting messy. Where basically you kind of grab it, give it like, squeeze it like that to kind of cut it, and then mix it back together. Kind of just doing like half, just reaching underneath it. Pulling it out to try to get everything from the bottom over to the top, get it all mixed together. actually. Let's have a little bit more flour in there. Since we are in the experimental zone. That'd be great if I completely ruined this loaf of bread, huh? After doing all this filming. And one more set of cuts, I think. Alright, so that is that. It's all mixed up. Now basically we're going to do what are called stretch and folds. We're going to do 3 or 4 of them, I think. First we'll just let it sit. Let it do its thing. We'll come back in like 20 minutes to stretch and fold, let it sit. Come back in 20 minutes, stretch and fold, let it sit. Do that 3 or 4 times and then it's done. Well, getting ahead of myself. We'll get there. Alright, it's time for the first stretch and fold, which is easy. I've got a nice wet hand again. I'll see if it actually works this time. Basically the idea is you reach underneath it, kind of like lift it out until it resists and then fold it back over the top. And then you do that from like 4 corners or 5 or 6 points around, whatever seems to work out nicely. Usually I'll just kind of try to like get at it a little bit first like this. And then kind of get underneath it, get one of those. I'll just do like the star thing where you just kind of go around. So what this is doing is building up gluten in the dough. And so eventually it'll come together more and more. There's a little bubble in there. It'll come together more and more and slowly become more cohesive. Time for stretch and fold number 2. And this time I'll do it traditional. I'll go left, right. Top, bottom. Flip it over. Done. Now it sits again. Stretch and fold number 3, I believe. That's one thing that definitely happens. I consistently lose count of what stretch and fold I'm on. So let's see. We'll do the 4 corners again. Alright, flip. You can see how it's starting to hold together better now. It's keeping its shape. It's an indication that the gluten is building. I never seem to be able to get the perfect little dough balls that you see like in the professional videos, or like the people who are better at this than I am. But it always tastes good when it's done, so that's all I care about. Time for another stretch and fold. It's been a half an hour or so for me, but it's been like 2 seconds for you guys. It's definitely coming together now. It's when you can see, like it's not as loose or whatever you want to call it as it was before. That maybe should be the last one, and now we will just let it do its thing. I was going to have to let this go until midnight. Alright, it is now the next day. It is the morning time. I've got a coffee going. Just got out of the shower. I was supposed to get up at midnight to do this step, but I did not. So I woke up at 3 in the morning instead, and then realized it's way too late. I came out here and the dough was clearly overproofed. So I just put it in the fridge as it was, and I'm going to take it out now and see what it looks like. See if maybe I can salvage this operation here. So, see what happens. So here's what the dough looks like now at 8:30 the next morning after being in the refrigerator all night. It's clearly very puffy. It's got lots of big bubbles in it. But the problem is we still have to form this into a ball and get it into a proofing basket. So my plan is I'm just going to turn it out into the counter as gently as I can, form it into a ball, put it in the proofing basket, and then let the proofing basket sit out, let it warm back up, hopefully try to regenerate some bubbles and stuff, and then maybe around like noonish or something, maybe bake it and see what happens. Alrighty, let's see what happens here. Good thing about it being in the fridge is that it kind of like stiffens up a little bit. Like if I had tried this at midnight, it probably would have all deflated. Would have been a giant disaster. Still could possibly be a giant disaster. That also kind of looks like a lot of dough to me. Like maybe I should make 2. I think I will. I'm just going to take a little flour here, put it over the top, and cut this roughly in half. These are my proofing baskets I got off of this. It's a not very well known boutique shop called Amazon.com. I'm going to throw a little flour in there, freshen it up. Try to make sure that these things don't stick. Alright, so now we will take each of these, dust off as much flour as we can, and try to form it into a ball by basically doing kind of like very gentle stretch and folds. Just kind of grabbing it, tucking it back up into itself, giving it a pinch. It all back together. And this next technique is one I've never been particularly good at. But trying to like give it a stretch. It's kind of seems too dry. It's not sticking like it's supposed to. There we go. It's kind of working a little bit. Just kind of dragging it across the counter. Form a tight skin on the top. That's basically it. Alright, be down here as you can see. Time has come to bake, so we're going to turn on this oven to 450. Let it heat up for like an hour with the cast iron Dutch oven, whatever you want to call it, thing inside, so everything gets super hot, and then we will start baking bread. Actually, let's move that back over to the center. There we go. Alright, so our loaves have been rising here a little bit. You can tell because they're hitting the stuff now. So basically all we're going to do is we're going to flip this over, hope that it falls out of the proofing basket, or comes out without tearing itself apart, and then quickly put it into the oven, or open the oven, take out that cast iron thing, put this in there, put the lid back on, put it back in the oven, and it'll cook and steam inside of there, and it'll expand, and then we'll take the lid off, and then cook it for like another half an hour. So anyway, let's just, first things first, see if this thing will even come out. Which it did. Nice. Alright, now let's put that in the oven. Try not to burn myself while I'm doing this. One tip in the book, keep the thing on there so you don't try to grab it with your bare hands, because it weighs, it is like 1,000, well not 1,000 degrees, 450 degrees. And it goes back in the oven. And we will see what happens. We need like half an hour. Alright, it is the moment of truth. The moment of truth. Yeah, we know the timer went off. We get to see now what we're working with here. See if this whole thing was worth it. If it worked at all. Take this out. Take the lid off. See if it puffed up at all. Hey, look at that. It did. Can't really see that though, can you? Let's lift this up and bring it over. Oh yeah, there we go. Now it's just got to go back in and brown up. So we'll give it like another, say 15. Let's do 10 minutes, just to be safe. It's small loaf. The moment of truth. I guess we really had the moment of truth. This is just actually the moment of reveal. There we go. One nice sourdough loaf. Little baby loaf. So we'll take this out of here carefully. Move over to our little rack. And put the lid back on this. And put the whole thing back in the oven to reheat for loaf number 2. Give it like 5 minutes or so in there. It's crackling. So, second loaf is baked. I didn't bother filming any of that because I figured this video is probably getting too long as it is. But here it is. There's the second one, along with the first one. Second one, you can hear it's crackling now. Got some good crackling going on, actually. So, anyway, success, even through my mistakes. Just goes to show that making bread doesn't have to be like this crazy scientific thing where if you're off by half a microgram with your flour that it's not going to work right. Like, I made huge mistakes, and these look great. I'm going to cut into them once they cool down. So as promised, here is the crumb. Also known, that's how it looks inside here. So this is going to make some pretty tasty sandwiches. It's pretty tasty toast with butter and jam. All that kind of stuff. Maybe some avocados on there. It's going to be pretty good.